Now I know y'all better come up in here and get some of this tea. Welcome to the I Refuse podcast show. I'm Mr. Fox, doing things a little bit different right now. I'm gonna do a week in review. You know, the big thing right now is the Diddy racketeering Rico human trafficking case. If this is your first time coming, I've been covering the Surviving Diddy series, as I've called it, since news first broke that Cassie, government name Cassandra Ventura, fine, broke the sucker wide open a little over a year ago. Filed that lawsuit. They settled within 24 hours. First thing I did is come over here to the group chat and tell y'all what it was, why it was necessary, what is the Abuse Survivors Act. It's on the YouTube page. And I've been going ever since. And as somebody that's been outside since the 90s, I had to revisit some half-cocked theories at the time surrounding this man, some mysterious circumstances that people around him or connected to him, the demises that they've come to, from Heavy D to Andre Harrell to one of his former bodyguards, who is, if it's, is it me or does Justin Combs look like the bodyguard that Diddy had? The bodyguard that's since passed a long time ago. But that's not why we're here. We are here because this is the most major, this is probably another case of a lifetime. And this past week in the trial, a lot of things have come up and come out by way of the women that this man has entertained, dated, used, and the major player in this is the same woman that broke this sucker wide open, and that's Cassie Ventura. She got up on the stand, pregnant with her third child with her husband. My heart instantly goes out to her again, always has, that she it takes a lot of strength to survive a lot of dysfunctional, unhealthy, um, unequal situations such as being with this man. And to know that on the outside of that, you have people still this deep into 2025, almost 2 years, still thinking this entire case is about Diddy being freaky. No, no, like nobody cares about that. Nobody cares that this man may or may not dabble with the same sex. Nobody cares that this man uses baby oil. Nobody cares this man is into threesomes, group sex, orgies, things of that nature. The distinction is what the fucking trial is about. Human trafficking. And Mr. Gray gave me such a definitive answer, a distinction that goes far beyond what we've all thought was the definition of human trafficking. Kidnapping people, taking them across state lines, forcing them to do prostitution, things of that nature. It can be adults too. A lot of what Cassie has stood 10 toes down on, and she has had to relive and retell during the course of being on the stand this week, falls right into that category. The nuances, and I hope the ashy lip, shitty underwear track brigade is listening, especially Bootsy Badass, is male workers, strippers, being presented one thing. Oh, this is, I'm going to go strip, go dance, and that's it. Y'all all seen Players Club, only came here to dance, and that's it. But when you get there, it's a totally different situation. There is a third party that is directing. There is this person that you are at the apartment or the room or whatever, and it's not what you were presented with. You're not there to strip. You have been commissioned, hired to have sex. Now, the woman in the equation, this is a woman that we've all seen the video, the hotel hallway video, where she's attacked. She is essentially dragged down to the floor and kicked for trying to leave. We've seen the bruises, we've seen the black eyes, we've seen, even in interviews during that same time frame, there is no light in her eyes. There is videos that's come out this week of just the body language she has when she's with it. She's smiling, but she's not there. Like, I want people, especially men, that swear up and down that, oh, they're just trying to take down another black man. She looked like she was in fear of her life for the majority of the relationship. And when you factor in this checks and balance system where even when you're trying to move on with your life, there's a consequence to that. And the consequence is cars being blown up. You see opposition, even like business opposition. And she's testified this man has rallied up his bodyguards or his security team and gotten guns and all this other stuff. And the inference is that he went to go see about this dude. It's very ticky boom. You could go down to the weeds about, oh, he's trying to be something he's not. That is a flight risk. And if he's like this or trying to portray this publicly against a man, and you've seen the stuff that I've seen when it comes to how he's treated Cassie during their relationship, there shouldn't be any argument or a second guessing or a third guessing as to what she's saying and why she's there. First of all, she was subpoenaed, and she has the evidence to back it up. You you can't do that. This is deeper than assault. This is deeper than domestic violence. You are procuring adult entertainers that are their livelihood, their work is non-sexual. But when they get there, you are using them as sex workers. That wasn't the agreement. And then you have this woman in the middle who I'm willing to bet was drugged up the entire relationship. And you could say, she was willing. I'm willing to bet that there were a couple of times in the very beginning where she wasn't. And I would even go so far as to say that she's seen stuff that puts the fear in her, whether how he is or was with Kim, how he is with other executives, other intimate members of staff. You even have people, other women who were part of his employ that have their own experience with this man. Reaching under the skirt without consent. You know, the chef, the woman that was employed as part of one of his companies. Like, and you have to understand that when you have somebody that is powerful, that is connected, and has this sense of entitlement, because the moment they sense that you are pushing back, there are consequences. Or if there's a moment that they are losing control, they get physical. That's a problem. And then people out here see all this stuff and still think this trial is about Diddy being freaky. Y'all need to take an American politics class, take a couple of government classes. Um, they say that Don Ricard and Arbio Day are also going to be called to testify at some point during the trial. Trust to believe, like, with an investigation, as long as the government has been investigating, I bet you they're going to call all the women, not just the ones that it's been reported that they have allegations against them. Like, you just gotta be on the up and up out here. So during the course of Cassie's first day on the stand, there the courtroom has been shown photos. The courtroom, everybody in the courtroom has heard explicit details, including his daughters, his his mama, Madame Combs, and even his boys, biological and non-biological. Because I swear, you pull up a picture of Justin Combs, or no, Christian. You pull up a picture of Christian Combs, because there's no denying that Justin is his, but Christian and Diddy had a bodyguard back in the '90s. Just saying. Um, the the length of the freak offs, the mention of people being on IV bags, the the expectation or um, influencing people to be on drugs to have sex, take breaks, come back. That too can lean very much into the criminal behavior because everybody has their limit. Everybody has their limit. And also, you don't know all of what a person can do, like the different ways beyond just spiking a drink, the the different kind of drugs that are out there that you can't see and stuff like lubricants and things like that. And another part of Cassie's testimony is that she's had to endure sores and UTIs um, from the activity, um, most likely from certain things that aren't supposed to be taken internally. Like, if you still think it's about freak offs, you should probably stop at this point when you hear shit like that, do an about face, look in the mirror and be like, I am part of the problem. And we are in the shadows of Cosby, Kelly, Weinstein. This this is all of that times 10. When you get to a point where you are having how many hours on top of you are making people a party to what you want, and you are ruling people with an iron fist. Like I said, checks and balances, there's a consequence if you object, there's a consequence if you try to leave, there's a consequence for you and anybody else that is a part of you not being over here where you I feel you should be. Like it really should not, it should really just it doesn't seep in for y'all. And when I say y'all, not everybody, because there are a lot of us out here that are like, this is a different level. And this is far deeper and way bigger than his alleged shady business dealings with like artists and stuff. Um, and same sex play and stuff like that. Like where that ship had sailed a year or so ago when I was kind of reliving, like making the band, um, revisiting that and looking at it differently. Were there signs then? Um, And just the 7 degrees of separation and despair that have befell the people associated with this man that are no longer here to talk. It it has been a very wild ride. I, when Monday came, the opening statements from the prosecution and defense, I'm like, this is this is starting off kind of paper thin. I didn't know they were going to have Cassie on this early, and I'm sure they'll have her on across multiple days since she is a main party. And you gotta remember, they were they were together mm, over 10 years. Could you imagine the shit she's seen? She is Cassie is the witness, and I would employ or implore the grown ass men out here that are of the mindset that, oh well, they just trying to take another black man down, and this you still believe that the trial's about the freak offs. You should probably pay a little bit closer attention to the body language of a woman that is being abused, that is being isolated and alienated, not only from the life she had, but also from other people, the majority of the relationship that she's in. You are at a grown age where we've had the same discussions about Tina Turner, Ike Turner. We've had the same discussions. We've seen stuff like this. We've seen the movie where at some point during the timeline of abuse, the woman, this her spirit literally leaves her body. The joy, the the freedom, the all the things that she may feel makes her a woman, and the beauty in life. There's the clip of them like walking across the pool area at some vacation spot, and she's smiling, but she's not there. And for her to live through all of that and still be able to retell the same story from the 30 some odd page filing that she did, great detail. Um, you, like, what's not clicking? I wish I could pull up the meme where Sister Patterson is like, what's not clicking? What's not clicking? I don't know what part of a regular dude seeing this that says the shit that y'all say. Um, we can't watch this live from the courtroom. A lot of us are wishing that they could, that we could. But at this point, do you really want to? I mean, the daughters can barely sit still through it. Um, if anything, I would be ashamed and embarrassed as a woman. to know that my father is a party to this. And not only a party, but all of this shit is from his brain, is from a very dark place. And I remember there were a lot of people in the comments talking about, had their own theories as to what led to this moment. As far like as soon as y'all heard that Cassie was coming, y'all were like, had your own theories as to what really happened behind closed doors. It was really Alex Fine's idea to file the suit. And it's like, um, the real victim, Cassie is the victim. Alex is the victim. There is a feeling of hopelessness and not weakness, but just like you wish you could have done something had you not. And it takes a lot of strength for not just a woman, but a pregnant woman to come into a courtroom and have to retell, relive in front of everybody everything that she endured. And it's clear to me that like some of the men that are, or the people that have come up with their own theories and they still think it's about the freak offs. It's like you're telling on yourself. Like, dare I say, it sounds like y'all have an issue with people not feeling something and you still pressing the issue or pressing what you want to happen. Oh, yes. If you have not been paying attention, there are these men out here that are crashing out at rejection, jumping up and down on the hood of women's cars, um, posturing and going on these little rants because a woman rejected you and killing women. This is one of those times in history where we are finding out what side of the aisle some of y'all are on. No matter what you say, keep in mind that you are nowhere near the same tax bracket. So we don't want to hear you right now. Nobody's after your little 40-hour job. Nobody's after you for your little nest egg, you know, your pocket change that you keep in the corner of your bedroom. Now, nobody's coming for your Papa San chair or your recliner that you sleep in your mama's basement. You are just not that guy. And for the rest of us, it's really sad that you have men out here that have kids, boys and girls, and you still have this kind of thinking when you look at this trial. Let's get into the tea. Let's get into the tea. So, you people, I'm gonna tell y'all, she back to the trial. You know, Cassie. is due to return to the stand today at 9:30. So I'm on the East Coast. So probably around lunchtime, maybe a little bit before lunchtime in my time zone, she'll be back on the stand. Keep in mind when you use the phrase freak offs, just know that drug fueled sex encounters that lasted for days. She has to get back up there and be cross examined. And yes, while I understand the prosecutors and the defense are just simply doing their jobs, it's just added stress for a pregnant woman. Just keep that in mind. Abuse, threaten, and coerce women, marathon sexual encounters, a relationship marked by violence and physical abuse, the drug fuel take freak offs last several days to recover from it. Like, what what more do y'all want? So you got, let's see, you got Don Ricard coming up soon. Get my screens together. She's coming up soon. Um, they'll take a break and then they'll conclude for the day around 5 p.m. Yesterday was the fourth day of trial. Um, over the previous 2 days, she detailed physical and sexual abuse by Combs and was blackmailed. See, that's a crime. Blackmailing people. Private messages were shared and part of the filing and everything. I I mean, he's going down, y'all. He's going down. Going through drug withdrawal before the 2016 hotel assault. He would be explosive if she did not do drugs with him. There were not drugs in the freak off baby oils. Wow. Ooh. And this is all just yesterday. More texts about freak offs, jealousy of Kim. Yeah, he's going down. It's just no way around it because what in the world? This is very deep. Very, very deep. Sorry, hold on. I'm alive. I'm alive. The short of it is, if you're gonna be like a freaking into drugs and all that other stuff, keep that to yourself. You don't have to bring in a network of folks and surprise people with shit. Like I said, if a person is a stripper and they believe that they're hired to strip and they show up and you want them to do other shit and you in the corner directing them, ugh, it's crazy. Yeah, that's just not cool. None of this is cool. So moving on, another thing, we here at the Afuse podcast like to talk about social stuff. And one thing I make it a point is to talk about things that affect me as a black person. And I'm here to tell you this thing here, y'all, shit. Y'all think y'all think this might actually work? You think old boy 547 will pardon the man that killed George Floyd? Hmm. So a conservative cause celebre has been percolating for months, which is a push for that man to pardon the officer that murdered George Floyd almost 5 years ago. Can you believe that? While there is no indication whether or not he'll do it, it it's possible. It's still very much possible. It's not uncommon for a president to pardon a a person. Um, Now that I think about it, it's been very uncharacteristic that out of all the presidents that I've seen in my lifetime, I don't think I've seen a president before 47 pardon so many folks across I think his first 4 years, and I mean his current 4 years is the night's still young, so who knows? I'm very curious as to what the reasoning is. Low hanging fruit, in my opinion, very performative, a way to reignite, the movement. I noticed that in the first part of this year, a lot of people that had voted for that man had all their memorabilia, all their flags, all their emblems and shit on their houses, on their sheds and driveways and stuff. And at some point, maybe like March, April, it should disappear. which would lead a person like me to think, all right, maybe that movement is dead. Well, he's, you know, Felon 47 is very, very smart. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He he knows all the right buttons to push to get something going and keep shit alive. And this will definitely be that. Um, Kyle Rittenhouse has not slowed down. Uh, every once in a while he'll pipe up and say some shit against. He was saying something in response to the Carmelo Anthony teenager thing, but this here, I wouldn't be surprised. We already know why the guy's in prison. And even during the course of his trial and up until right now, there have been these conspiracy theories that, it wasn't Chauvin's knee and pressure to George Floyd's windpipe that killed him. Oh, it was the drugs in the system. It was heart problems, underlying heart issues. It's like, y'all, if y'all can find a loophole, you will try. You will definitely try. So I think what they're trying to do is spin that up into reasoning for pardoning Chauvin. And it's like, no, like you could have aspirin in your system and Benadryl and all this other shit. That's not what killed him. You could have so many different kind of drugs in your system. You could have a heart issue. You could have these are what could be called contributing factors, but that George Floyd was breathing just fine and was talking just fine before Derek Chauvin and his crew accosted him and did what he did while that man was handcuffed with his hands behind his back on the ground. So even though it's been 5 years, probably 2 years ago, all of a sudden there's focus on this page from Floyd's autopsy report, which circulated on social media claiming that it was drugs, right? And even though people in the coroner's office, for the most part, are certified and educated and experienced, it's not uncommon for a report to be initially completed indicating one thing. And then over the course of time, there's a revisit or an addendum made or a reexamination, and the cause is this. But there's a discussion that has to be made or had about the the plot or the agenda that people are trying to make happen off of somebody's death. It's like no matter what was in this man's system, you saw the video of something that occurred that A should not have occurred, and B, had it not occurred, he would still be alive. And had fentanyl been the causes they're trying to say on top of all the other toxic drugs, he what so what? it's, if anything, like bringing this up, especially on a black man, they're trying that age old thing where you're trying to keep the image of a black person negative. Because all it takes is, oh, he had drugs. Oh, he's a drug addict. Yeah, yeah, so on and so forth. So again, comes to find out that this shit is, got your fact checkers, Associated Press, a very credible source. It's false. Doesn't prove anything new. Homicide due to cardiopulmonary arrest. Like you see what they're trying to do just to get this man out. And I'm willing to bet that there's some kind of fund somewhere that they've been keeping, they've been contributing to just on the off chance that this shit may actually happen to where he's out. Like it's cut dry. You're asphyxiated. You lose oxygen to your brain. Your heart slows down and eventually stops, and you die. And they want y'all to believe that it's rap music, it's the braids in the hair, it's the religious garb that you have, the spiritual garb that you have. It's all of this is the real problem. Why can't the black people, the drugs and the guns and the rap music and the stealing and stuff? Why do you have to resist so much? But they're quiet as a church mouse when the same authorities, the overzealous authorities, were resisting those mandates. But they just, a lot of people are ready to argue in an arena that they are not qualified to even have a statement about. And that's health, heart condition, all kinds of stuff. And all it takes is I heard somebody say it. And of course, if you ask him, he's going to say, "No, I haven't heard anything about it," but could be working on it right now. Because remember, a lot of y'all were under the belief that Project 2025 was going to be no longer, was not even a thing. Yet, members of the administration were behind it. So, when I say stay woke, I mean stay conscious of the bait and switch that people try to pull. The gaslighting, the um, the stunts that people try to pull. That's what I mean. But here's the thing: the Constitution, certain articles and sections and clauses, a president can pardon a federal conviction, but they can't do anything about the state conviction. So even if the federal conviction is vacated, it's up to the state. They'll simply transfer Chauvin to served his 22 and a half year prison sentence in Minnesota. So close, but no cigar. But I'm telling you, like, they'll try anything. And last but not least, before I get up out of this thing, I previously spoke about this on the podcast um, last week's episode about Smokey Robinson. Yeah, it's getting a little thick. It's getting a little thick up in here. Whew, this thing just keeps cutting up on me. That's fine, because we will work it out. So, Smokey Robinson, right? I was initially I was being facetious when I did the bit on the podcast, wherever you get your podcast. But it's gotten to a criminal investigation by Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department after being accused of sexual assault. So if you've been living under a rock, living in an Amish country, had no cable, Smokey Robinson is being pursued legally and civilly and for money by 4 or 5 housekeepers that he's previously employed that alleged that they were forcibly raped and essayed while under his employ 20 some odd years ago, and they didn't come they didn't come forward sooner out of fear of deportation. I'm skeptical about the default. On my show, the I Refuse podcast, I explore the skepticism and I try to look at everything from all points of view before I jump on anybody's bandwagon. That has nothing to do with it being a celebrity or a songwriter or whatever, but I can't argue with the court of law. Like, the difference between this stage and the Diddy trial is that it's consistency, right? Like, we've all, at this point, we've seen this kind of thing happen before. And I am following this. It's a different ball game when it goes from allegations and a spokesperson to a criminal investigation by the sheriff's department. Active investigation against William Robinson, early stages. Um, Police reports. Now, you can file a police report for anything. Something as small as like a disagreement over, between neighbors, to vandalism, to your car being stolen, to a car accident. To know that there is a lengthy documents and a police report that will kick off an investigation, right? It it could be argued, the timing, like you file a police report after you filed a $50 million lawsuit. Um, I mean, that puts the police behind the ball. And keep in mind that, like, as this thing gains traction or gets more eyes on it, the the folks that have filed the lawsuit are keeping their identities secret. which, if it was me, I'd show my face. I'd be in every camera. And at some point, if you are a Smokey Robinson, or even if you are a person working at the local rural farms, you at some point may have to respond and do something about this. It's still relatively early. Um, I have my theories on the podcast, which I will not be repeating here. And this has nothing to do with I'm riding for Smokey Robinson or I'm riding for a celebrity. It is not uncommon for employers and employees to have sex, especially like celebrity men, like Smokey Robinson, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, to have sex with their mates, especially in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And no matter how you cut a certain situation, there's going to be enough rope for a person to trip or expose something that's going to raise a couple of eyebrows. But I mean, you gotta go to the podcast and look that up. Last week's episode. Um, it's still relatively early. Um, this is just the next step in a serious investigation, and it should be investigated. It should be like the way people carry themselves or how they are behind closed doors in them Hollywood Hills. I wouldn't be surprised, especially on the heels of this Diddy trial. Like all was quiet and serene the day before Homeland Security came up in the mansions and served a warrant and did a full search and seizure of the entire property. And it's been mayhem ever since. Like it wouldn't surprise me as time goes on that you'll hear more and more stories or there'll be more and more exposés about what all has been going on up in the Hollywood Hills, up in the big ass celebrity mansions the past 30 or so odd years. And we're halfway 2025. It's only May. Um, yeah, we'll see. More to come, like they said, more to come. Before I get up out of here, you know, no, well, I don't typically celebrate. I'm not like relieved in any kind of way. Chris Brown, a day after saying free Tory in jail, Tory Lanez has recovered from the stabbing. They're saying Justin Bieber is broke. It's unfortunate because a lot of people made money off of that boy. But the details that have come out that he borrowed against AEG um, from, for the canceled Justice tour or some of the dates or whatever. He still owes Scooter Braun, they say. It's like, damn, y'all done use that boy up. He been looking kind of out of it on some of his IG lives. Oh, um, outside of Justin Bieber having a jerk persona growing up, I don't think he deserves any of this. But not my clowns, not my circus. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. I Mr. Fox Hour Fuse podcast. Get into the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Hope you enjoyed the show. Maybe I'll be back tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see. Follow, subscribe to the channel. Follow, subscribe to the podcast where you get your podcast. And we will catch you guys later.